Welcome to Charting New Paths in Pre-K through 12 Education, a podcast by Solution Tree. We'll highlight the triumphs of top Pre-K through 12 education leaders as they share their journey from previous challenges to their current course of action. Hear encouraging success stories from school and district leaders, teachers, and the education experts we're pleased to call our authors and associates. As their stories unfold, discover how these purpose-filled educators work collaboratively to create high levels of learning for all their students. I'm your host, Prisma Lopez-Marine. Enjoy today's episode. Hello everyone, in today's episode we'll be talking with an education leader from Brazosport Independent School District in Clute, Texas. They will share with us their experience with Solution Tree, the impact of professional development, especially with the professional learning community process, and their success story in becoming a Model PLC district. With us today from Brazosport Independent School District, Superintendent Danny Massey, joined by our Solution Tree associate, Clara Sale-Davis. Thank you for joining me for this episode.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We're honored.
All right. So for our first question here, can you both share with us your history with serving the Brazosport Independent School District as education leaders?
Yeah, I've just completed my 7th year as superintendent in Brazosport ISD. This is my 31st year in the school district. I was a teacher and a coach at Brazosport High School. I was assistant principal, and then Clara and I were principals together at different campuses in the district also. And then I was an assistant superintendent and then superintendent.
Mm-hmm. So I started my career here about 38 years ago. Yes, Mr. Massey, I'm older than you, but not by much. And so I started as a teacher, assistant principal, and I was a middle school principal for 13 years. And that's when Mr. Massey and we were doing professional learning communities together because we were trying to figure it out for both of our campuses. We just didn't call it PLC. I always like to say we were PLC before PLC was cool. And then I had an opportunity to go to Chattanooga, Tennessee as an urban director for the Public Education Foundation, working with the Benwood Initiative. And then when Mr. Massey became superintendent, I got a call around March and said, Clara, I really need you to come back. And I had recently entered back into Texas working for Pasadena ISD. And he said, no, you need to come on down the road back home to Brazosport. And so because of his heavy influence in a weekly phone call, he lured me back home to Brazosport, and I never have regretted it. So I ended my career in public education where I started. So all in all, I put in 32 years in Brazosport Independent School District, and I had the wonderful pleasure and honor of working with Mr. Massey for the last, was it 7 or 8 years? I just retired last August. So we didn't speak for a while. We had that professional divorce, but now we're back together again because our whole mission in life is really not about us. It's about how do we improve the lives of children. So, and we live around the corner from one another. So
I love that. You're both neighbors.
Yes, we are. Partners in crime.
That's right. So, Mr. Massey, can you tell us more about the district? Both of you can actually, since you've both been so involved and so part of this community and just the district in general, what the schools are like, the communities are like, the similarities and differences of the school's culture as well.
Well, Brazosport is located about 50 miles south of Houston on the Gulf Coast. I like to say the Golden Gulf Coast of Texas. There's not a city named Brazosport. So we serve 8 different municipalities. We have schools in 4 different municipalities. And so it's really the school district that brings all of our communities together. We have 12,000 students, 19 campuses, 2 traditional high schools, and 2 alternative high schools. We're home to a large petrochemical industries. Dow is right here in our backyard. BASF, Freeport Liquefied Natural Gas, and many others. We have students, a variety of students. We have students that live in extreme poverty. We have campuses in Freeport that are 99% economically disadvantaged. We have students that their parents are world-renowned researchers that work at Dow, and chemical engineers, and very professional, highly educated people. And then we have everything in between also.
Ms. Clara, did you want to share any other experience you've had with the community and just the district of how the schools are like?
One of the things I feel like, and I like to think, because now that I've had a year to travel in other districts, we have a very unique and special school board. And our school board, we don't know who represents what community, because we are like, literally, we are like a family. So our school board represents every school, not just the school in their district. And so I feel like that unity of purpose we like Mr. Massey and I always used to say, our PLC goes from the boardroom all the way to the classroom. And so I feel like that unity of purpose has really helped us accomplish the goals that we've needed to accomplish. And we never, and Mr. Massey and I both as leaders, we never take excuses for our children, whether it's extreme poverty or neglect or skin color. It's like, we are the Brazosport family, and we're going to provide the resources or whatever is needed to ensure that students are learning at high levels in every one of our schools. So I think we're unique in our community because we really are a family. And I can't remember which board member represents what, because they're at every event at every school. So I love that about our board, our school board.
And that's such a wonderful dynamic. I love what you said, the unity of purpose.
The unity of purpose.
Unity of purpose.
That's very apparent in Brazosport Independent School District.
So, Mr. Massey, can you describe some of the leading challenges the district was experiencing in the past, which then encouraged you and the district to seek out the PLC journey?
Yes, when I was selected as superintendent, our district was really underperforming. We had low expectations of our students at most of our campuses, and it showed in our assessments, and our state ratings were low. And they were so low at a couple campuses that if we didn't improve our academic achievement of our students, that we could have received sanctions up to removing the superintendent and the school board. And so we were really underperforming, and the community had lost confidence in the school district. Brazosport ISD was really a bad name in the district. And so as Clara mentioned, when I was selected as superintendent, I called her immediately because we believed, and we knew, because we'd done it at campus levels, we knew that our students in Brazosport could learn, and they could learn at high levels. Right. And we knew how to do it. And the PLC process was how we were going to do that. And so we were familiar with that process. We believed in it. And this was going to be our vehicle to student success. And so I got Clara to come in as our chief academic officer, and we went to work. And our theme, our first year, was "We Believe," because we had to make sure that we had educators in our schools, that we had principals, that we had teachers that believed students can learn at high levels, no matter their economic status, no matter their skin color, no matter their zip code. Their zip code was not their destiny. And so, but we had to also train our school board. Clara mentioned the role of our school board. Governance, the governing of our school district was very important, and there had been some challenges prior to me becoming superintendent in that area also. And so we trained our school board in professional learning communities, because it was very important that they understood what we were doing, how we were going to create success, academic success in our district. And so we were faced with some real challenges. And so we went to work and did that. I like to say our best work is done in teams. And so one of the beautiful things about, and most effective things about professional learning communities, is that nobody works in isolation. And so we work as highly effective teams and train to work in highly effective teams. And we disaggregate data and we make data-driven decisions for our students. And we make sure that they have enough supports. Also, that we provide a lot of supports for them. We not only went on this PLC journey together, but we knew that we had to provide a lot more social emotional supports for our students also too. So we entered in agreements with different nonprofits to help support our kids socially, emotionally. We started more after school programs also too, because what we know and what we've learned over the years is that we're not only held responsible for our students' learning, but we're also responsible for their social emotional needs and also just many of their basic needs. We have a lot of crisis here in Brazosport. We get a lot of hurricanes, we get a lot of floods. So crisis leadership is something that we do every single year, it seems like, unfortunately. And so when we see that, we see people look to the public schools and depend on their just basic needs of food, shelter, clothing. And so we've really embraced that. It's our responsibility to meet our students' academic needs, their social emotional needs, and just their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter also.
Wow, that's powerful. There's so many schools in our nation, just so many things going on. But that's one of the things that you don't think about because of the actual location of where you are, that you actually do have to think about, like their shelter and just essential things that other states might not necessarily be so depending on because it's not something that they have to deal with. Oh, wow. That's on top of already being admiring of everything that you've done as a district, that's just another layer that I'm just going to completely be in admiration of your district and your leadership, because I looked into both of your backgrounds and you've done so much. I don't know how that's possible. You say that you're retired. That's not, you're so young. It's so impossible for you to be retiring. But obviously,
Mr. Massey, she said I was young.
You are. It's incredible. Like your energy, both of you, you can tell your passion for education. It's just so great. So Miss Sale-Davis, with your experience in professional development and just having impactful education leadership roles like the ones that you've mentioned, you've been an educator, teacher, assistant, principal, and then also consultant. You're an executive director for curriculum and instruction, as well as currently Solution Tree Associate. Have you seen other schools or districts deal with similar challenges that the district we're talking about has experienced? And then what are some factors that needed to be addressed from individual schools first, and then as an entire district? I know that's a lot, but wherever you would like to start.
So make sure I cover everything. First of all, I want to commend Mr. Massey's leadership. When he hired me, I always said I never aspired to be a superintendent. I just want to make superintendents feel supported and do what they need to do. And one of the things that I hope that I share with other districts, the first thing that Mr. Massey did as a superintendent is, in our PLC world, we talk about the guiding coalition. And so Mr. Massey, in his leadership, he surrounds himself not just with loyal followers, but with people that are different from his skill set. And so he created a cabinet that was a guiding coalition to help with all of these challenges that we have. Another I would say part of the guiding coalition is he really drew upon our principals as strong leaders. He doesn't take those decisions very lightly, because we collectively make decisions for our district. And so maybe that's, the coach background, he knows how to build the team where we can win. And so that's really something that I've viewed from, as I've stepped out, I've kind of viewed from afar. So the first challenge, of course, I feel like, and what we're experiencing now with our precious neighbors in Uvalde, we have to secure safety of our children. Our parents want our kids to be safe at school. So we needed to address those kinds of needs. And then from there, we had to create the why. The why we're not going to have achievement gaps. The why, we're not going to have excuses for children. And so with that being addressed, then our unity is, okay, not just, okay, go fix it. We had to allocate the resources. And that's another reason why we got our board on board, because we were going to ask for resources to ensure that our teachers had all the tools that they needed in order to be successful with the children. So we needed our resources for professional development and training. We needed our resources for materials. We needed manipulatives in the classroom. If we're going to do small group math, we needed book rooms for our children with books. And so, we learned all those details. Even when we got our bond and we built our new schools, we now have literacy rooms where we can house materials. So there's no excuses for why our students can't achieve at a high levels.
Right. Wow. That's a lot. That's so much that was incorporated. I'm sure it still sustains everything that you've said for the current educators. So when did you first, both of you, when did you first experience professional development with Solution Tree? Was it pursuing the Model PLC process, or was it before then?
So since I'm older, I'm going to take that one, Mr. Massey. So I met one of my mentors in life, Dr. Rick DeFore and Becky DeFore. I met them in 2005. It was right at the beginning of our principal careers, Mr. Massey. I can't remember. It's been a long time ago, but we were getting a lot of accolades at Freeport Intermediate School, where I was principal. We were a national school to watch. We were a national blue ribbon. We were part of the Texas Mentor Network. And that was just unheard of, because we had high poverty, and the world thinks that because you're poor that you can't learn, and we defeated that attitude. And so I got a phone call from Dr. Rick DeFore in 2005, and I was at lunch duty, and I didn't know who Dr. Rick DeFore was. I was in my lunch duty world, and my secretary said, he sounds very important. You might want to take this call. And I said, if I'm not going to take the call, because I'm doing lunch duty and I don't want to have a food fight. So if he's really interested in what we have to say, tell him to call me at 10 o'clock at night after the basketball games. Well, at 10 o'clock at night, I got a phone call from some guy named Richard DeFore, and we talked until midnight. And it was like I had known him from another life, and he wanted to share the story of how do we overcome the odds to be a high-performing school. And so thus began my friendship with Dr. DeFore and Becky DeFore. And so that's the year I became a Solution Tree associate, just kind of sprinkled in. And so I remember, Dr. DeFore addressing the high school and all the high school needs from his experience of Adlai Stevenson, and then Becky from her elementary years. And then I came in with the middle. Here's some ideas we can do with the middle school. So in all this time, Mr. Massey and I are becoming friends, because now we're colleagues together. And one things that we like to do, and I think, I'm going to be honest, I think we're a little competitive with each other. So we do share ideas, but then we want to perfect our ideas and make them even better. And so all through that process, whatever professional development I was getting through Solution Tree, I'm sharing with our colleagues, our other principals. And so that's kind of how that merged. So I've been a part of the Solution Tree family since 2005, but I had a day job and could not do that full time. So just in the summertime, I do some institutes every now and then. But anything I brought back, was shared, because that's the culture that we've created, is sharing our resources. And then when Mr. Massey became in the leadership role, the superintendent, he built the momentum of this is how we're going to change the world, is through professional learning communities. So, he made sure that not only building the momentum, but monitoring the momentum. And that's where we work together as colleagues to really hone in on, we can say we're PLC, but what evidence and artifacts are we producing other than test scores? But what evidence do we have to ensure that we're providing everything we can, not only for our students, but for our teachers and our trained professionals. So that's kind of how that merged.
Mr. Massey, how was your first encounter? Was it through there?
Yeah, well, obviously, Freeport Intermediate under Clara's leadership had really done great work there, closing a lot of achievement gaps, really had a lot of evidence of how students in poverty could learn at high levels. And so when I became principal at another campus in the district, I wanted to learn as much as I could from her, how she's doing that. Of course, she was a big proponent of professional learning communities. Said, you got to go to the conference, you got to meet Rick and Becky DeFore, and you got to meet all these people. And so you just immersed yourself and started learning, brought those concepts back to the campus. So again, like I said before, we had experiences at the campus level of turning around campuses with professional learning communities. And so we did that at the campus I was at Lake Jackson Intermediate School. Same thing, underperforming campus. It wasn't as high poverty, but it was certainly underperforming. And so we implemented those processes and strategies and used the professional development and worked in collaborative groups, making data decision making, and turned that campus around also too. And so again, when I became superintendent, we knew what we needed to do, and we knew how to do it, and we believed that it would work. And so that was our experience over, I guess, about 15 years, probably even longer now, with professional learning communities. And it's still the vehicle that we use for student success and academic achievement. Now we like to say it's embedded, and now that we've become a model school district, it's embedded in what we do. It's not we've gone past the implementation phase into, Clara always says it's embedded now, and that's true. It's embedded, and it's our culture now of how we operate.
Now we just sustain and get even better, because we're always about continuous improvement. So no more pre-initiating and initiating. We are sustained.
So then what was your experience like applying to become a model PLC district? Because I hear it's hard.
Well, I have to be very honest with you. For us, it was easy because we just wrote down what we did. Now, writing and finding the time to write it. But one of the things that I share with other districts that Mr. Massey made sure that we did is, again, we don't just say it, we have to archive it. We have to have the evidence. So we had already set up electronic folders. We evaluated our principal performance on their PLC journey. And so we already had those things in place. We had them archived electronically, and it was just a matter of compiling the archives together in an application. It was difficult to write because some of the things that we take for granted, we think, why would we write that? Doesn't everybody do that? But everybody does not do that. And so it was easy to write down our thoughts once we organized what all we had. And then once we got on a roll, we just combined the archives and the evidence to say, all right, well, here's what we say we're doing, and here's the proof. So easy when you have the structures in place, but if you're just trying to make it up, don't even apply. You need to have everything together. And we felt like we did. We had pockets of excellence, but we have some areas in which we still need to grow. Some are stronger than others, but as a district, this is what we believe.
And like you said, you had already had gone through, like you were already in your own journey prior, like you said before, PLC was cool. But it is something that you did put in actual physical paper and then presented it to become the district, which is very great because your story is so unique to you and unique to everybody else that it's important. It's important to share these experiences as education leaders, as a district, so that other schools, even if it's not another district, but if other schools hear your story, they feel supported in everything that you've said, and probably given that kind of a little bit of a push if they're on the edge or on the fence of wanting to apply or even trying to seek out resources from Solution Tree. So, Mr. Massey, the work that you both have accomplished throughout the years in the district is just so very admirable. Mr. Massey, you were included in the Texas Association of School Administrators Inspiring Leaders Spotlight, where I saw what was written up, which was very well written, where it talks about your belief that the best leaders are those who dedicate themselves to growing new leaders. That is something that you had said. What has your approach been to guiding other education leaders in Brazosport Independent School District?
Well, I believe leadership is about service. And so we're servant leaders in Brazosport ISD, and principals are the key. We are organized, our district, our organizational structure is all to support the principals. There's been no great campus without a great principal. And so the principals are the ones that we hold directly responsible for the business of our business, which is teaching and learning. Our principals are the ones that hire and fire our staff. They're the ones that do the most support of our teachers. They're the ones that have the most conversations with our teachers. They're the ones that have the most conversations with our students and parents. And so the principals are the key, and Clara mentioned it earlier. And so our district organizational chart, and everybody understands it, is that everybody's role in this district is to support our campus principals. And so they are the leaders that really are charged with the teaching and learning. And that's what our priority is ensuring our students are connected, ensuring our students are safe, and ensuring our students are learning at high levels. And so we do a lot of principal support. We make sure they feel supported. We coach them. We have lots of meetings with them. I make sure they have great principal supervisors of people that they can lean on and get great advice from and talk to as often as needed. We also work to develop our assistant principals. We have a lot of leadership development in our district. We have Aspiring Administrators Academy. We have a cohort each year that we have teachers who are aspiring, who have their masters or are working on their masters, working to be administrators. And so we work as a grow our own program there also too. So we have people ready on the bench that are ready to go in when we have vacancies also. And then just a lot of leadership development within our own cabinet, our executive cabinet, our principals, our assistant principals, our curriculum leaders. And so we work a lot and really hard to develop leaders. And also, I believe this is that we've all reached our level of leadership because there's been somebody along our journey, along our path, that have invested in us, that have believed in us and have given us opportunities to be in the position that we are. And so we have a responsibility and a commitment really to pay that back. And that's the way that we pay those people that gave us opportunities and believed in us and supported us and invested in us, is that we have to do that, and we should do that for others also too. And so we invest in our people and we work really hard to grow leaders.
I like that not only do you, which like you said, it is the business that you are in, to advance students' achievement, but you also do it for your peers and your colleagues, which it shouldn't be surprising, but it's good to hear, because that also that's the whole kind of point of what you're doing for us as students, for the students. I still see myself as a student. Because I'm ever learning. I learn so much just by hearing the experiences that you as education leadership tell us. So I still see myself as ever learning. Miss Clara, what is the feedback that you've received from your colleagues and teachers about being part of this PLC process?
Well, sometimes I compare it to being a part of the Peace Corps. It's hard work, but it's the right work. And, I've seen a lot of blogs, a lot of podcasts, a lot of Twitters where teachers are just so unhappy and so distraught. And we have a national shortage of teachers because they want to leave the profession. And then when I work with schools that operate as a professional learning community, I'm seeing that they build each other up. If you want to go for a short distance, go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. And so those people that are working together, and I think it was the same way when I work with Mr. Massey. There's going to be days where he's got to lift me up, and there's going to be days I got to lift him up. And there's going to be days that we disagree. But if we have the same mission and we have the same vision, we got to put the pride on the side and carry on with what we need, the business of kids. And so I feel like when you've got that inner voice saying, we can get through this. Mr. Massey, I hope you're still having that believe, we didn't change our theme every year, like sometimes we do. We're still believing. And it's like that song, Don't Stop Believing. We have to believe in each other. And so advice that I try to give our disgruntled teachers in the world out there, not in Brazosport, is if we work together, it'll be easier for you. And you can go home at a decent hour if we're dividing our workload. You can have that piece of fulfillment if you get COVID, somebody's got your back while you're out. Or if you're having a baby, somebody's got your back while you're if there's tragedy in your family, somebody's got your back. And you don't feel that overwhelmingness when you share the workload. And I know that we spend a lot of time investing in the leaders, but we also see our teachers as leaders. And Mr. Massey mentioned, we have teachers that are in the aspiring leadership programs. We look at our teachers as leaders, not just, employees, but we draw from their strength as well to keep us in the trench on what is needed so that we can provide it. But I just feel like if you work as a team, you can get a lot more accomplished. But if you're going to be a lone wolf, you're going to end up howling out in the woods somewhere, not really getting anything accomplished.
Correct. Absolutely. So now for the both of you, as the district grows and is rising from the outcomes of COVID-19, as many other schools and districts are, what are your current strategies that you aim to strengthen so that the district continues to succeed with student achievement?
Well, literacy is always a focus for us. So that continues to be a focus as we have students back and we the COVID gaps, the slide that we've seen in COVID in literacy. And so we've put in a lot of strategies to make sure our students are learning to read before they have to get old enough to where they read to learn. And so literacy continues to be a big focus, even more of a focus now than 5 years ago when we started a early childhood literacy initiative. So literacy continues to be a focus on that. But what we've learned is that our teachers are highly trained professionals. Our teachers know how to teach kids how to read. We have intervention strategies and intervention processes in place. So we work as a team. We do screeners. We look at data. We're able to close the literacy gaps. What we've seen as a bigger struggle is the gaps that we've seen is just the extreme emotions from students, from parents, as well. This because this prolonged period of uncertainty that we've seen. When we came back to school this school year, we were celebrating back to better. We were going to take all the lessons that we had learned from COVID. We were celebrating not having to do contact tracing anymore. We didn't have all the social distancing protocols in place. We were back to better. And then with the Omicron variant, in about 3 weeks in the start of school, our cases were 3 times higher than they were the previous year. So we learned that we weren't back to better. We were just back. And it was really hard to realize that. It's like running a marathon and getting to the finish line and being told, no, the finish line's not here. It's 10 more miles or 20 more miles. It was exhausting. That was exhausting to have to go back and start contact tracing again. Classrooms that weren't covered. First thing principals had to do every single morning was just like the previous year. Do I have enough adults to keep the school open today? We went back to survival mode. We were surviving again instead of trying to thrive. And so it was really hard. It was really hard. And so all the debates and the divisiveness that we hear about all came back, the mask or don't mask, social distance or don't social distance, let visitors into school or don't let visitors into school, vaccine, don't max the vaccine, all the things that are really, really divisive now. We thought we were kind of over that and through that rough spot. They were all back. That was what was back and continued. And so it made it to be a really hard school year. It's very tough on parents when kids can't go to school. Most of our parents with our industries, a lot of our parents are hourly workers. And if they don't go to work, they don't get paid. And so when their kids can't go to school, it's really hard on them. We see financial hardships on parents. And so again, when we talk about this emotion of uncertainty and am I going to be able to go to work that day? Am my kids going to get sick? Or my kids going to have to stay home? All those type of things. And so because of that, we see a lot of extreme behaviors from that. And so the mental health, the social emotional health is something that we put a lot of strategies and a lot of supports in for our students and for our teachers in that. We started a big self-care and wellness initiative, and that we're going to make it even bigger next year. Because what we know is that our staff have big roles and big responsibilities to take care of a lot of other people. Either as leaders, they take care of their staff, or as teachers, they're charged to take care of their students. But they can't take care of anyone unless they're taking care of themselves first. And so we wanted to make sure our staff had access to mental and emotional support. And so we went on a wellness and a journey also with our staff, a self-care initiative with our staff. And we're going to continue to do that more because it is hard. It is very, very hard. It's been a very difficult 2 years. But again, that's one of the great things about the professional learning community's processes is nobody does it alone. We all work together. We all stick together. And we all want to be good teammates and function as high-performing teams.
So lastly, could you both just give us advice for anybody who would like to or is thinking about applying to become a Model PLC district?
I would say self-reflection and continuing with, this is such a popular term. Everybody wants to throw out growth mindset. Back in the day, I called that enthusiasm and belief. Now it's labeled growth mindset. But I would just say for those that are applying and all the things that we talked about, ask people. We don't need to privatize our practice. One of the things that, is so great about Solution Tree is their evidence of effectiveness tab. You can go and look at schools that have your like demographics, or your like areas. Let's look at other schools that have to be out for hurricanes. I would say that look at what others are doing and keep to the course and archive your evidence. It's one thing to go to a conference and come back excited, but then what does that translate? We learned, but now what are we going to do? I see the book behind you, Learning by Doing. I think that's a big marriage. You have to learn, but then you have to have this responsibility and accountability of what are you doing about it. It's several researchers and inspirational speakers say, when you know better, you have a moral obligation to do better. And so I feel like if I could give advice is really examine and self-reflect on what you're doing. And if you see roadblocks, don't complain about it. Come up with a solution for it. If it's something within your control, then work collaboratively to find that solution. If it's something that's out of your control, then don't waste your energy. I can't help it if God brings a hurricane, but what we can do is have systems in place for when it happens. So self-reflection and believing and working together, archiving the evidence as you apply for your application. And I think it's more than just the prestige of a title. It's more than somebody that can write a great application. Are you living what you say you're doing? If not, it's the epitome of hypocrisy, and it's going to come out. So make sure, too, that if you have the title of being a national model PLC district, that you're willing to share, because it's all about not just our kids, but the whole nation and the whole world's kids. Let's unite to get better. As I said earlier, create that unity of purpose. So if you are going to be a national model PLC, you have to share what you're doing. And I was grateful to work in a district where the culture was we share with everybody. But working with Mr. Massey, we still want to be the best.
Yeah, I would add the award. When we received the National Model PLC award, it was very exciting. We were really proud because we had come a long ways. It was evidence of how far we had come. But really what was exciting and fulfilling is what that award represented. And what it represented is that our students were learning at high levels, that our principals were working in high-performing teams and had built cultures of collaboration and data-driven decision makings. And so really the award was great, but really what the award represented was that our students were learning at high levels. And so I would just add that to anyone who's considering professional learning communities process is go to the conference. There's lots of conferences all over the nation. When I first inquired about that, that's the first thing Clara told me: you got to go to the conference. You got to go to the conference, and they're great conferences, and it's a place under one roof where you can meet a lot of people and learn a lot. And the website's great. Go on the website, look at it, but it works. I'm telling you, it works. And if you need to improve your students' academic achievement, you need to improve your teachers working together in collaboration and having high expectations for your students. This is the journey we went down. This is what we believe in. These are the tools and systems and processes that we used, and it works. I think the other thing I would add is that as we all work with teacher turnover now, there's a teacher shortage out there. We're all affected by that. The professional learning communities is good systems and processes that you have. And so you're not totally dependent on a great teacher or a great principal or a great superintendent or a great chief academic officer, you have systems and processes in place that your systems and processes can continue that and not be so people dependent.
Thank you so much to you both for your advice. It's wonderful information for our listeners to look into. And then also, since it is from your experience, you both have experienced this process, the application process as well, the implementation, and then just the overall experience to, like you mentioned, embed all of this work so it could continue on for the next leadership and the next teachers that will take this work on as well. Superintendent Danny, thank you for sharing your success story with us, and Ms. Clara for your insights and expertise on PLC. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Thank you.
It was great to see everybody.
To learn more about their strategies and data on becoming a Model PLC district, navigate to www.allthingsplc.info. Then at the top, click on See the Evidence and search for Brazosport Independent School District, where you can also use the filters to find other schools and other districts similar to yours. Also, visit our Solution Tree website to learn more about Clara Sale-Davis. And if you would like to request her professional development guidance, go to solutiontree.com and look for her page to fill out your request. Now, for our sponsor message here from the company, at Solution Tree, we share your vision to transform education to ensure learning for all, and we can help you make this vision a reality. No other professional learning company provides our unique blend of research-based, results-driven services that improve learning outcomes for students. Now, we appreciate you tuning in. Make sure to navigate to our solutiontree.com/podcast page to listen to our other episodes. There you can subscribe to our podcast today. Just click the button subscribe and then look for your favorite podcast app. Also, remember to like our episodes and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This has been your host, Prisma Lopez Marine. We appreciate your time and for tuning in to join Charting New Paths in Pre-K through 12 education.